Hola and welcome to a new episode of the Ruthless Dog and Pony Show. Yay! After 3 weeks this time, so we're excited that we're starting a new series, a new collection. My name is Julio Panicello. I am the dream alchemist at Ruthless Painters, a free-range art school, atelier, and gallery for present-day romantics. With every episode, we reveal the theme of our next painting collection, so you can find out what we will be painting next, and also the reason why. We hope that you get inspired by our presentation. We hope that you feel you want to create a piece related to the theme of the presentation. So that's why we do this introduction and presentation, so you get an idea of what we will be painting in the next few weeks. We explain the painting theme. We also explain where the painting theme comes from and how it relates to our contemporary time. There's always a connection between what we present and what we experience. We try to find a connection. We try to reconcile our experiences in today's world with the concepts that we present every time we introduce a new series. We explore different possibilities for visual representation of the concept using images of paintings throughout art history as inspiration, while citing stylistic and historical references. So we bring examples of different styles throughout art history, specifically I would say modern and contemporary sometimes. So you get an idea of how different artists have tackled this subject using their own personal style. And we try to bring a range of different styles, because we have this idea that there's only one way of representing things, but there are many, many ways, and it's important to break that limitation and understand that there's not a single valid way to do any translation, visual translations. In many ways, our episodes are like our paintings, so they're messy, unpredictable, and certainly unvarnished. And what that means is that, sometimes we may just kind of like mention something, or we may get interrupted, or something happens during the presentation. It's only 30 minutes. And so we just ask you, if you attend live, that you bear with us until we reconnect. And if not, there may be some pauses during the presentation. But yeah, you can find all the episodes as video on Instagram and on our YouTube channel. Also, you can find the episodes as podcasts, so you can find them on any podcast platform. So you can listen to them if you want while you drive, or if you're trying to fall asleep, because they're pretty unbeatable to make you wanna close your eyes. You're welcome to contact us with any questions or comments about this presentation. Also, if you want to contribute your notes to the presentation, we humbly stand to be corrected. Sometimes we try to stitch different concepts together and come up with some theories about why this happened, but we may not be accurate or correct, and we welcome any sort of like contributions to build on what we said. Also, this is an open call, so it means that anyone who is interested in joining the collection of paintings, they can do so by doing their own and then just sharing it with us. But the reason why we do this is because during the next couple of weeks, or maybe 3 weeks, in each of the sessions that we're gonna host, we're just gonna continue work on the theme of the collection, and then sort of like keep working. So that's why we do this. So without further ado, let me see. This is I just want to check the number. I think it's number 9. We've done 9 let me just check. Um, we've done 9. Is it number 9? Yes, this is our 9th painting collection. We are in the middle of the year, so we're pretty excited that we slowed down our production. We used to do one every week, so it just gave us time, or it gives us time to actually work on our paintings a little bit better, or a little bit longer, and it's been really, really nice. So last week we talked about vanitas, very specific kind of still life that appeared in the 17th century, around the 17th century, in the Netherlands specifically, as a reaction to the turbulence, the political turbulence, the conflicts, and the upheaval, the inequality that people went through during that period of time. It was a terrible time for humans. The 17th century was a really devastating, horrible time to be alive. And a lot of artists sort of like reflected that existential threat that they had to live with by creating still lifes of objects that symbolized the fragility of time, the passing of time, the fact that we are all sort of like temporary, and that at the same time we need to make the best out of the time that we are given. So it was sort of like a very dark style, a dark trend. There were a lot of skulls being portrayed, but at the same time, there was an affirmation of being alive and making the best out of, again, the best out of the time that we have. So during this week, we've done a bunch of like still lifes using objects that symbolize this passing of time: clocks, candles, cut flowers. What else? Books, sometimes, letters. So everything that was photographs of other people, everything that was painted had a symbolism related to being temporary, fleeting, not being permanent, just like life itself. So we realized that in order to find references for this specific still life, it wasn't easy. We wanted to find something that didn't have skulls necessarily, just because it's a little bit macabre. So we ended up looking at still lifes of nightstands, objects on nightstands. If you think about it, in regards of clocks, that's something that it's usually not anymore, but or maybe in the form of a cell phone, but it's usually part of a bedside table, still life, a nightstand. Photographs of people that maybe here, maybe not. Think of like what you have on your nightstand right now. Things that illuminate, or sources of light, maybe not candles, although it would be nice to or maybe there are candles in your nightstand. But we found a similarity between vanitas still lifes and nightstands, objects on nightstands. So because we had so much fun and it was so good to be in this meditative mood, sort of like a retreat, emotionally retreated from the craziness of life, and at the same time doing something so symbolic, we thought that we could do a part 2, but this time making it truly personal. So we're going to call this series Nightstand Still Lives. Nightstand Still Lives. And the premise would be to go to your bedroom, take a photograph of your nightstand, your bedside table, objects on it, and then use that image as a reference for a painting. Translate that image onto our painting surface. In a way, we haven't done this before. We've done this for years now, but we haven't done something so intimate, so personal, so symbolic, so representative of who we are and what we like. And also, we realize that um, something so mundane and underrated could have such powerful significance, that it would be nice. We thought it would be nice to actually bring attention to that corner of our home, that part in our bedroom, that sort of like area that no one really pays attention to, and portray it to sort of like reflect this idea not only of something intimate, but at the same time, something with such great symbolism. So, what's interesting, by the way, is the fact that historically we haven't been able to find a lot of images of paintings throughout art history of bedside tables. And that sort of like gave us a little bit of a moment to reflect. We think of a still life of something that contains maybe food, maybe vessels or some sort of like container, but never something really beyond that. The still lifes or botanical elements for sure, but we realize that the genre, the still life genre, in fact, it's not as varied as we thought. We only have like 4 paintings, by the way. We're going to present some of the paintings. And funny enough, 3 of them were painted by female artists, which also is something that we want to reflect on. There's a book that I'm not going to give away the title because it's going to be the book that we're going to read in the next 3 months after the solstice. But the author makes a reflection about how still lives were sort of like largely continued to represent a form of failure, bondage, and thwarted ambition. So the still life genre had a lot of negative connotations at some point in the 20th century, like late 18th century, where women didn't have that much access or at all, any access at all to art education. And they were restricted in the amount of subjects that they had for their paintings. And the still life was a subject that was considered maybe unconsciously or maybe directly a failure in many ways, a failure or something. I like the word bondage as well, the limitation of having painting subjects. So we'll talk about more during the sessions about this concept of domestic still life being at some point representative of not achieving success and how things have changed. But let me just share the first still life. It's a little bit cropped, but I'm sorry about that. But this is a painting by Vanessa Bell, one of the Bloomsbury group painters. It's titled Interior 8 Fitzroy Street, and it's the painting is not much larger than this. There's a curtain, but it's essentially a side table with certain objects on top, and it's the way the painting it's sort of like represented or arranged. It's not next to a bed. That's how difficult it's been to find specifically nightstand still lifes as the main focus of a painting. There's always like room interiors, but not like the bedside table itself. So it's a side table, but we wanted to talk about some of the elements that you could think of if you want to do, if you want to arrange it yourself. So there's a photograph or a painting. There's a little box, a little tiny box. Unfortunately, behind the video window, it's the source of light. It's a lamp and it's off. And there's a little bouquet of flowers. So very simple still life, not many elements. But we chose it because we thought of arranging objects on a smaller table, and we thought of like things that could become part of a personal sort of like a nightstand, perhaps. And the way it's painted, we love her style. The way it's painted is beautiful, and especially the reflection of the objects on the table. So that's one. We don't have a date for this painting, but we thought it could be a good example in regards of composition, in regards of the corner of the room that's been portrayed. There is an intention to also feature the wall, and with a mirror, something hanging on the wall, so there's a sense of like something upright, and at the same time bringing other elements that are part of the room. So in regards to composing a still life, it doesn't have to be just the objects on the table, but perhaps something around it, maybe a little bit of context of that nightstand. So that's one of the examples. This is also another example that's not strictly and precisely a nightstand. It's more like a boudoir, or sort of like a different sort of like furniture. But still, we chose it because it's the main focal point of the painting. And usually, like paintings in bedrooms, they had either a naked woman, or a sick woman, or a dead woman in the bedroom. So the nightstand was never the focal point. So we completely, except for one painting that we're gonna bring, it's the only painting painted by a man that we have in this collection. Funny enough. But it's interesting. We're going to reflect on this. We want to talk about it. We want to find out, or not find out, but come up with a reason why that happened. But this is an example by another female painter, and this time, so her name was Zora von Preradovic. She was Croatian. 1867 to 1927. This is titled Interior. And again, it's the corner of a room. We can guess it's a bedroom. There's a clock. There's a box. There are some flowers. There are other boxes. There's a mirror. So there's something also intimate about maybe the use of this mirror for personal reasons, or to kind of like to be used as an intimate moment of like putting yourself together, or sort of like arranging certain things, or not having a dialogue with anyone. There's something really powerful when we portray on still lives objects that have a function, but there's no one there to use them. The absence of a figure on a still life is more powerful than the narrative of having someone there using an object. So yeah, that's why we chose this painting. She wasn't a very famous artist. I think we found this in an auction website, the European auction house. But then we did a Google search, and we couldn't find many more paintings, maybe a few more, some landscapes. And precisely, there's a landscape on the painting featured on the wall. We have a thing for paintings inside of paintings, and this sort of like fits that thing that we have. A painting inside a painting, maybe a window to a different life, using the word bondage, perhaps like featuring a landscape in such a private corner. There's something much more meaningful that we can even imagine. So just gonna go for the next one, the next painting. This is a little bit closer to what we propose. Again, we're doing a new collection of paintings. We're going to paint our nightstand still life, the objects on our nightstand. So we found this painting that it's a little bit more pulled back. It's a painting of a room. It's by Bertha Wegman. She was Danish, from 1847 to 1926, around the same time. We don't have a date or a title for this specific painting. It features a bed, and it features a piece of furniture that this time actually counts as a bedside table, as a nightstand. Thanks, Marie, and thanks for being here, by the way. We appreciate that. So very simple. There's much more of a context, the spatial context, besides the piece of furniture. It's not just the nightstand with a candle, but it's also a window, which happens to be to have another still life on the window sill. It's a bed that's been made, but it hasn't been sort of like completely arranged. It features a time of the day that doesn't really belong to nighttime. So we love this painting for many reasons. We feel like it's a really bold painting. It's contains a lot of symbolism. The candle is snuffed, so there's no flame of the candle. It doesn't feature a time of the day that would be much more close to the significance of like featuring a bed and a nightstand. The main source of light is from outdoors. Maybe it could be morning light. It could be the morning after. The bed is made. It's made in a way that feels careless and very intimate, not trying to project any sense of power or any sense of like facade or pretension. And there are no other objects on the nightstand. It's just the candle. Nothing is measuring time. Nothing is there for the pleasure of the person using the room. There are no flowers from a garden. There's no book to entertain. It's a bare bone nightstand with a single object. And at the same time, the symbolism of the candle just kind of like, the tiny bit remaining of that candle. Perhaps that person couldn't sleep at night and had the candle on for hours. And, in the morning, she woke up and then went somewhere else. But there's a little bit of a sense of perhaps like a nightmarish struggle that happened overnight. So these are the things that we're interested in featuring a still life on a nightstand, our nightstand. So we're moving from vanitas, which was a little bit more generic, and we used images that were not personal, to another still life, but this time really intimate and personal and reflecting of ourselves. An image of the objects on our nightstand, our bedside table, and what they mean to us, or how they portray us, or what kind of connection we can make, and how they can speak of us. And finally, the only image that we found, and interestingly enough, or very sort of like curiously, it's by a male painter. And as I said before, I'm just gonna see if it's cropped or not. Yes, it's a full painting, and this was painted by a Russian painter, Vasily Polnov, 1844 to 1927. Again, the same time period, turn of the century. We have a title and we have a date. I don't know if you can see any correlation, but it's hard to find titles and dates on many of the paintings that were retrieved or survived history of female painters that used domestic subjects for their paintings that were considered a failure at the time, and how some other painters, they not only survived, but we have the cataloged information, the date and the title. So this was titled "The Patient," and it was painted in 1881, and it depicts a nightstand table, with a still life on it. There's a lamp, and there's some objects. We like the style that the painter used to represent this, because the objects are not entirely recognizable. There's a bottle of water. There's some papers, and there's something that feels like a paper. I'm not sure, but it's not really clear. There's something that feels, I don't know, it feels like a thermometer. I'm not really sure. But notice that the focal point here on this painting, it's not the nightstand still life, it's the narrative. And as I said before or earlier, we did find a lot of paintings of bedrooms, but the nightstand wasn't the focal point. It was always the figure. There was always a figure of a woman unclothed, naked. There was always the figure of a woman sick, and there's always the figure of a woman dead. So that's the repertoire that you get on a bedroom during that specific time period. Mostly perhaps because focal points of still lifes in bedrooms were not regarded as interesting enough, or ambitious enough, or worth of being translated and featured in exhibitions. We'll dig in a little bit more, but this is the final painting. We wanted to bring this because of the high contrast. Also stylistically, everything seems almost monochromatic. There's only one accent color, and that's the green of the shade of the lamp. The rest, even though it has like color, but it's pretty much washed out, desaturated, and treated in a very monochromatic way. You may not be able to appreciate the wonderful glow of the green light on the corner pillow. If you make an effort to sort of like zoom in and look at that corner of the pillow, that little tiny corner that's closest to the lamp, there is a green glow on the fabric that's absolutely amazing. The figure, it's a child. It's a young figure, which was also a very common subject, possibly because that was a very common scene of, like, I wonder how the child mortality, how much, because of its commonplace, how much became a part of the subject matter on paintings. But yeah, it's the image of a child. So that's all. We're just gonna remind you that we're gonna paint the still life, the objects on a nightstand, your nightstand. We suggest you take a picture before you organize it, before you clean it, before you make it pretty. And then sort of like arrange it for the camera and see which one you would prefer, because there's something about still lifes on nightstands that feel like caught in the act. It's not a part of the bedroom that we arrange every single day, and it may just kind of like feature a moment in time that may be completely unprepared or caught in the act. So take a photo before, and also consider the fact that you can choose creatively, if you have time, to take photos throughout the day, perhaps a daytime photo and a nighttime photo, and decide which one you prefer, because there could be something really interesting about doing even a couple of studies of the same still life under two different light sources. So there you have it. Join us. Our webinar is tomorrow. Marie, we would love it if you joined from Europe. It's always fun. And even if you just are a fly on the wall and see what we do. But we're going to start the webinar with the webinar tomorrow, remote webinar. It's 3 hours total, 2 hours painting. And we talk about not only the process of the painting itself, but reflect on things that maybe as a group we can just kind of like come up with suggestions, ideas, a lot of theories about the theme. And then the last hour is feedback. We share our progress, our work in progress, and we give each other sort of like a little bit of suggestions and ideas. Very, very constructive and very positive. This will be the beginning of at least a 2-week period in which we continue working either on our painting or create a new one. And then we have a couple of in-person classes, but mostly our classes are remote. So join us. We hope you found this inspiring. We hope you found things in this presentation that made you wonder about why things sort of like happened, and perhaps inspire you to question why things are so invisible and why we underrate this subject matter so much, and how it has changed throughout art history. But yeah, this could be a good way also to step away from the craziness of the world, to sort of like find an intimate moment to be with yourself and get to know yourself by the objects that are on the table. Sometimes we take things for granted, and using the same concept as vanitas, perhaps this could be an affirmation of taking the time that we have here, not taking it for granted, and really doing the best that we can with it. So thank you. This is so wonderful. Thanks for being live. To all of you, really appreciate it that you're joining live. And if you're watching this at a later time, either on Instagram or YouTube, or you listen to the podcast, we just wanted to also express our gratitude for reaching the end of the presentation. Thank you. Bye.